Buzzlings, and welcome to the Tea with B podcast. I'm your host, B, and welcome to episode 21. Now, this episode is starting a little differently than I usually do, I'm sure you can tell, and that's because this episode does need a little bit of an introduction before I head to my amazing guest. Now, the inspiration for this episode is how to make it in show business. Now, I know a lot of people who are actors and actresses, and I've had people who are actors on my show. I've had people who want to be influencers and are quote unquote chasing that clout. But the thing is, I highly encourage it. If that's your dream, then you should totally pursue it, because you know what? Life is short. But what I quickly found out in this interview on how to make it in show business is the answer is nepotism. Now, if you've heard the word nepotism but don't really know what it means, nepotism is the practice of those who are in power or influence to essentially give opportunities to family members and people who they're close to and give them jobs. Now, you can see right away where the issues lie in that, because we grew up in a society that says, if you work hard enough, you'll achieve everything, which clearly is not the case. Now, the other reason that I wanted to bring this up is, while I don't talk about my personal life very often on this show, I was a reporter for a very, very long time. I have a degree in investigative journalism. It was something that I was very, very passionate about for years and years and years. I feel like, I gave my life and bled for that job, only to find out that, hard work doesn't really mean anything, because you'll get passed up for a promotion because, the stepdaughter of the salesman that used to work at the company years ago, just on a whim, decided to be a reporter, and they're going to get the opportunity before you. Now, I'm not going to spill too much tea, but mind you, this is one of the biggest media companies in America, and they're still doing that. That still goes on. And, I'm an immigrant, and I don't have the same connections and the same networks as other people. I often forget how to speak English. So that came up in my career way too often. Now, I left for multiple reasons, one of which also being that multiple media companies claimed that they owned my voice and that I couldn't start a podcast. So, jokes on them. But although I'm not a journalist anymore, I still do abide by the journalist code of ethics. And I couldn't give you this interview without giving you this information prior to it. Now, the curtain behind, Nepo babies is being exposed a little bit more in media now. But even still, I don't think we realize the scope of how much nepotism takes over every single industry. And now I say that because while this applies in show business and media, it also applies to tech. Y'all know how I'm very passionate about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency in a decentralized world. And what I found while trying to find jobs in that industry is I would often get passed up for, the frat brother of the cousin distantly removed that had drinks with the CEO or played golf with him once. And that is the reality of kind of the world that we're living in. Yes, it's important to work really hard, but before we get into the interview, I'm going to give you the real tips on how to make it in show business or really any industry. And that's one thing, learning how to sell yourself. Now, the concept of sales always kind of leaves a greasy residue where we often associate it with, that sleazy salesman, but that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is sell yourself. And what that means is putting yourself out there in situations where you're interacting with people who may know others and really putting yourself out there. And it may be a little bit cringy, and for people who are a little bit more introverted, it may be more difficult. But, if you're having conversation about the industry, then don't be shy. Show your work, send it to them, get their contact information, follow up with them. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, put your work out there, because if you're putting in all that effort and all the work, all your blood, sweat, and tears into your work, but nobody's seeing it, then, what's the point? I mean, there is a point, but if you're really trying to make it in that industry, then don't be shy about showing off your work, about showing off your personality, who you are. You know, I love the internet. Y'all know that. I talk about it all the time. With the internet, we have the ability to talk to people in different parts of the world, talk to people who speak different languages, come from different cultures. Put yourself out there. And that may take a little practice to get better in terms of, you know, selling what you're capable of and selling your work to other people. But once you start, you'll see the change that your life takes, because you could be spending months and years putting a film together or going to close auditioning. And then all of a sudden you start selling yourself, you put your work out there more, and you will be amazed. And I know this from experience because other people have told me this as well. And I found for myself is talk about your work, talk about the things that you're passionate about to the right atmosphere. And I say that because when you start selling yourself and you really start getting better and you start getting that recognition that you deserve for the work that you do and all the effort that you've put into it, you will lose some people in your life. Now, that's kind of just, it just happens. And whether it's friends or family members, people will not be happy to see others pursue their dreams when they were too cowardly to do it for themselves. So that is something that you should be prepared for, is, you know, losing some people that maybe you've known for a very long time, and all of a sudden they become total haters. And don't stand for that in your life, and know that it's really coming from a place of insecurity, as well as, again, people don't want to see you pursue dreams that they know they should have as well earlier, but now it's too late. And I really don't believe in the concept of too late, but go pursue your dream. Time is of the essence. It is slowly gripping out of our hands. So if your goal and your dream is to work in show business, absolutely put yourself out there. Find out the influencers in that niche area or whatever, and start following them, start interacting them. And again, it might feel so out of body to go to people and ask these things and show your work, but you will see very quickly how that pays off, because there are people who are starving for new talent, new creations. And, you know, that's the thing about nepotism. It's the reason why we continue to get the same shows with the same people that have the same themes, that do everything the same. You know, there's a lot of problems with nepotism, and most of us are not even privy to the concept of nepotism, because we've had to work our asses off thinking that was going to be enough, when it really never is. And so I really hope that you go out there, you pursue your dreams, you learn how to sell yourself, and learn how to show people that best side of you, to really show people what you're capable of, and go for it. Now, without further ado, here is the episode of Nepotism of Show Business / How to Make It in Show Business. And enjoy, my little buzzlings. Hello, my little buzzlings, and welcome back to the Tea with B podcast, where you spill a tea on absolutely anything. Today, I am super stoked to have Ray with me on the show. Now, Ray, I've had actors, I've had wannabe celebrities on the show, but the one side that I've yet to discuss is the entertainment industry itself, or the biz. I don't know if anybody calls it that, but to discuss it is Ray. Welcome, Ray. I'm so stoked to have you.
Hi, glad to be here. Glad to get to show the crew side of things.
That's right. Now, of course, we hear about celebrities or people, you know, in the entertainment industry, but all we ever really talk about is those actors and those actresses that are in front of the camera. Now, tell me, you have worked, first of all, let's talk about you and who you are and how you ended up in this industry.
So I was actually kind of born into it. Both of my parents, actually all three of my parents, that's complicated, but they all work in the industry. So my dad and my stepmom growing up, he does special effects and she's a script supervisor. And I used to work with horses for a living. And then I lived in Israel for a while. And when I came home from Israel, Dad kind of was like, summer job, film. And now here I am down the rabbit hole 3 years later.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So I'm going to ask that question because, I didn't know that until now, but is the entertainment industry difficult to get into if you're wanting to do things that you're doing?
So it can be. It's more or less who you know, definitely. And a lot of people go to film school for the reason of they don't know how to get into the industry, and that's their in, which is a great way to do it as well. You learn a lot. But if you know the right people, it's not difficult. And if you want to start from the bottom and work your way up, I think it's a lot easier than, just trying to jump in and be like, I can be a director, because that's not really how it works.
Yeah. Well, it's a really difficult job, right? Because while you have family that were in it, you also get the privilege of seeing what the industry runs like and actually do your job better than those who don't necessarily understand how, the back end works. Now, Ray, tell us about your experience. So about 3 years now, you've been you dove deep. So tell us what you do and how do you like it?
So I'm going to start out by saying that I used to work in locations, because that was the department that I started in originally.
And what does that mean?
I would recommend it to anybody. So it's like kind of your entry level position for film, where you're a locations PA. So you make sure people aren't making too much noise while we're rolling, making sure they're respecting the location that we're on, that there's not garbage everywhere, things like that. So it's not glamorous at all. And a lot of times people are super rude, because you deal with public and stuff too, and people aren't very happy with us most of the time. But it's a good way to get in and learn the industry and learn how to respect everything that goes on. Mm-hmm. So I did that for 2 years, and then I moved into the AD world from there. AD stands for assistant director, for those that don't know.
Yes.
And you work your way up through positions there as well. And I love that world. It's stressful. It's a thankless position, and there's like a million things going on always, but that's how I work, and that's what I love.
I love it. So what do you think continues people, and I mean, I've heard this from multiple people, that the working in locations or any other job when you're starting out can be difficult. You get, whether it's dealing with people or dealing with people that are on screen. So do you have any experiences of, something that maybe that happened, and how do you deal with it? And do you have to have that love to kind of continue doing it?
I think you definitely do need that love, or that aspect of yourself that maybe there's something wrong with you. We don't really know what people in the film industry, we all joke about that. We have a very dark sense of humor, but you definitely need it. There are times when it's just, oh my God, why do I do this? A story, for example, of that is I was working in locations on a show in High River, and we were doing like a stunt driving scene. And I was the PA at the very end of like the lockup. So there was like a corner that they had to spin around, and I was right here, and the corner was here. And I had to stop vehicles from like coming into that corner. And this guy actually like tried to run me over, and I had to jump out of the way, and he blew past me, almost hit the stunt guys. Thank God I called like bogey in time on the walkie, because otherwise those guys would have died. Like, there was a stunt guy on the hood of a car, and if that had been an accident, it would have been really bad. And that was one of the days where I was like, holy shit, it's a good thing I love this industry, because otherwise this would probably fry my brain.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds unbelievable. And I mean, I'm not that surprised. People are very quirky indeed. But I mean, we're talking about, it is a very hard industry. It's hard to move up. It's hard to, if you think, I guess what I'm trying to ask is it as glamorous as you imagine? What is still pushing you to be in this industry, and how come you have that love to continue to do it?
I honestly wouldn't say it's glamorous at all. If you're cast, maybe sometimes, but even then, not so much, because a lot of the times it could be -40 and you could be standing outside in a t-shirt for hours doing a scene. Same for crew, it's -40, but you have a jacket and it sucks.
I mean, that's one of the things, right? There's a lot of weather changes for your role specifically that you always have to be adapting to.
Exactly. And especially in Canada too, with the winters we have and all that kind of stuff. And then we're outside for, on a good day, 12 hours, on a long day, 14 or 15. So there's no avoiding that. So it's definitely not glamorous, but it is a lot of fun. And I don't know, I think I like the social aspect of it and how much I have to use my brain and think on my feet. Also, I'm a workaholic, so there's that.
Yeah, that industry does call in a lot of workaholics. You're right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not glamorous is what you keep saying, but why is there that perception that the industry is glamorous? And why do you feel like, in your opinion, and I mean, obviously you have your experience, you've seen your family's experience, what do you think still pulls people in?
I think for people who don't know the industry, who think it's glamorous, it's more because the things that they see of the industry are on the red carpet or the finished product itself. And they think, wow, this is so great. And that's exactly what it looks like, or that's exactly what we did. But half the time, behind the scenes is completely different than what the finished product is. And you're never going to be as clean at work as you will be on a red carpet, because I can't even be bothered to put on makeup to go to work. So it's just, they see a lot more of the glamour side than we do because we work behind the scenes.
So tell me more about your work behind the scenes. You said you're workaholic, and there's always that constant adapting to change. It's a very, I mean, to say it's fast paced is an understatement of the world. Things can change within seconds. So how do you adapt? How do you continue to stay in this world and want to grow bigger in it? And how do you, I mean, especially, you know, maintain your mental health and stay good with yourself so that the work doesn't overtake you, or maybe you want it to?
Honestly, I'm kind of, the work overtakes me a little bit, but that is kind of how I've always functioned in life. When I worked with horses, it was the same thing. So it's just something I'm used to, being at work more than having time for myself or having hobbies or doing anything else. Work kind of is my hobby, which is messed up, but it's helpful in this industry because that's all we really have time to do. Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. A lot of people, of course, want to see the glamorous side and want to get into this world because of that. Do you have any fun experiences of where you had, you know, talking to cast, talking to whomever is on set, where, you know, you can feel that they want to be in this world, but they don't realize the work that it takes because the only thing that they're striving for is just to be quote unquote famous?
Oh, I've definitely had those experiences. I wouldn't actually say so much with like cast or like even people that are on set, more with like talking to public when you have them at a lockup and they're just like asking questions and very curious about it. And I'm always very honest with them that it's not glamorous and it takes a long time to get to anywhere significant. And usually that kind of shocks them, but it's why sugarcoat it, really.
So explain some of the work that you do as an assistant director. What does that really mean? I don't really even understand what a director does, actually. I'll be very honest about that. So tell us what, you know, directing and what kind of jobs that you do and the function that they serve that people don't see when they're watching the screen.
So an assistant director, there's various different positions in the department, and all of those like define what you do. What I do generally on set on any given day is work with like background and help manage cast. So getting cast like through hair, makeup, wardrobe when they need to be, things like that, in the right spot at the time that they need to be there, making sure that they get food, that they're comfortable. And then for the background side of things, more kind of placing you guys in the scene, also making sure you've gotten through hair, makeup, wardrobe, that you're happy, that, you know, there's food and water, hopefully. And then, you know, telling you what to do in the scene, what our camera angles are looking like, what is happening in the scene so that the people in the background understand what's going on and what they should be doing. And then we repeat that over and over and over again throughout the day.
Wow. So how long would you say, you know, if it's a day-long shoot, how many of those hours are you working to, you know, perfect the scenes or, you know, make sure that everyone is happy?
It depends on the scene. Like it could be a scene that's like only an eighth of a page in the script. It could take us, you know, a half an hour, 45 minutes, or it could be 2 2/8 of a page, and that could take us 4 to 6 hours. It really depends.
But don't make plans.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of the things that you're describing kind of sounds like cat herding in terms of making sure everyone is exactly where they are. And, you know, you're in charge of kind of making sure that people are quote unquote happy. Have you had instances where, you know, you are doing everything that's in your power, but you still get some people who may be getting cranky at the end of the day or whatever? How do you deal with people like that in those situations?
Yeah, I've definitely had those situations. Honestly, it's kind of like the don't shoot the messenger situation where you're like, I'm sorry, it's not my fault that you're still here and I feel for you, but I can't tell you to go home yet. So get a coffee maybe, you know, just suggest something to make them more comfortable. And if you don't have anything, then just apologize and say, you know what, it sucks, I'm here too, and we're in this together.
So it sounds like you have to have a pretty cool head and making sure that everyone is happy, but not, you know, accelerate the situation so
Yeah,
that
you definitely can't freak out in the industry.
yes.
Really, in any department, you have to have a calm, cool head because everything changes so quickly. You just got to let it roll off you like water on a duck's back.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't realize. I mean, everything has to be so, so quick, and you're the one that's managing, making sure that everything is done and everything's accomplished. But again, a lot of long hours, a lot of work that goes into it. Now, saying all that, even though we've stated multiple times that the entertainment industry is not as glamorous as it seems, there are still millions and probably billions of people that are vying to get into it. Do you have any advice, whether, you know, they want to do an AD role like you, or have, you know, want to be director on a film, or whatever their goals may be? What are some advice that you have, both, you know, kind of classic skills / education that they may need, as well as talk about the skills that most people don't talk about, such as, you know, being able to manage multiple people and staying cool? What do people need to do to get into this industry?
Well, I think I really advocate for going into locations as a starting, because you gain so much respect, but also because you can see what every other department does, what their functions are, what is like expected of them, where they need to be and when, sort of thing. And it gives you a really good idea of, hey, like I might like to try this department, or I might like to try gripping because I like to carry heavy things around, or maybe I like LX because I'm an electrician, or special effects because I'm a jack of all trades and I like explosives, you know, sort of thing. So you can kind of pick and choose from locations where you're going to go, and it's a good way to show people that, you know, you can hustle and you can take the shit and deal with it.
Tell us some fun stories. Spill the tea on some of the favorite shows that you've gone on, locations. And you also mentioned that one of the reasons that you stay in this industry is because of the people that have a dark sense of humor. So tell us about that. Tell us about some interesting characters that you may have met, and yeah, spill the tea.
Oh gosh, that's such a loaded question. There's so many things that come to mind. I don't even know where to start. Some really cool Western towns that are a lot of fun to shoot in. And one of my favorite things that I've worked on, which is actually the first thing I did as an assistant director, is called Billy the Kid. It's out on Paramount Plus if anybody wants to watch it. I personally was not a fan, but it was a lot of fun to work on. Yeah. And there was so many interesting days on that. There's so many things. Where does it come to mind? I'm gonna start off with, we kept a wall of like Channel 1 like quotes. Channel 1's like our walkie channel that we all communicate on. The whole crew sometimes uses. Most departments have their own channels, but the general crew is on Channel 1. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes there's like really interesting, people will accidentally cue themselves and say something stupid or whatever. But there was one night, and one of the grip guys had accidentally changed to Channel 1, and he goes, "Is that you shitting in the woods?" for the whole crew to hear. And then one of us goes, "You're on Channel 1," and he just cues himself with his walkie mic just to laugh for like a minute straight. That's one of my favorite film memories because this is so stupid.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it really is. Sounds like herding cats / herding children, and everyone's just...
It's, you know, I compare it to being in high school a lot, or like grade 7 to like grade 9, because, you know, we should probably know better, but we still act that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So another question that I had for you, Ray, is, you know, kind of your family is in the entertainment industry, you're in the entertainment industry now, and you plan to stay in it. Do you find that, you know, people treat you differently, or when they find out your role and what industry you work in, that, you know, you get some interesting conversations? Do you feel like people always think that you can kind of help them out?
To a point, yeah. You know, I will be honest, and I kind of avoid telling people what I do a lot of the times, just because throughout my whole life I had to explain what my parents did, and now people ask me what I do, and then it's like a big conversation, and a lot of the times I don't want to talk about it. And if I like the person enough, I'll bring it up and be like, okay, yeah, I work in the industry. If not, I just kind of blow it off and like, oh, I do whatever. But they do always ask, and I'm always willing to help. Like if people want to get into the industry, I think we need more bodies. So I always tell them to look up the DGC and take their permit courses and all that kind of stuff if they're interested.
I don't know what that is. Do you want to describe it?
The DGC, which is the Directors Guild of Canada, which is locations, assistant directors, the accounting department, editors, things like that. And it's actually a nationwide union for the DGC. So it's super easy to apply for. And you take courses like set etiquette so that you know how to properly act on set and where you should be, the things that you should wear, the things that you're going to need to bring.
I didn't know that was even a thing.
Yeah.
Great resource for a lot of other people. Love it. Now, Ray, let's go back to some of the locations, some of the stuff that you've done in terms of, and I know that even in the background you have a present from a previous location shoot that you were on. Describe what that means in terms of, you know, I know that you don't really live a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, like other people. Describe what your schedule is like and what your timing is like and how your life is, how you adapt your life to your work.
That's almost nearly impossible to answer because the schedule is different every week for every show. So right now, for example, I'm not full-time on a show. I'm just daily. So I daily on like 1 or 2 or 3 different shows a week. So my days, I have no idea what they're going to look like at any point in time. So I just don't schedule anything really. I just from Monday to Friday know that I'm working and that's it. There is nothing else that I can get done in that time. I don't book appointments. I don't do anything. And if I book an appointment, it's like I have to book the whole day off to do it. Like I don't try to go to work half the day and then go to an appointment. It's just like I can't work this day because I have to go to the dentist.
Wow.
And it's the same. That? Pardon?
How do you manage that in terms of your personal life?
I don't have one. No, I'm kidding. I just on the weekends do things then and try to catch up. It's honestly like chasing my tail a lot of the time. Every weekend I have things booked and my friends or my mom or somebody will reach out and be like, hey, do you want to do this today? And I'm like, sorry, I'm booking like 2 weeks out. You need to contact me about like 3 weeks from now because I can't do it today. But thankfully my boyfriend is in the industry as well and understands and we make that work. So that makes that part easier.
That's great. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing that also doesn't get talked about very often is this industry will almost never be 9 to 5, right? So if you're trying to get into it and you think that you're just going to work a nice couple of hours in a day, that's not, it's very grueling, is it not?
It is. Like you should expect to work a 12-hour day every day, minimum.
And be on your feet a lot of times. And there's a lot of preparation that has to go into it. So Ray, what are your goals for this industry or for the future? What are you trying to achieve?
I'm actually not entirely sure yet. I would like to try stunts at some point. I think that would be so much fun, but also just stunt assisting and doing like paperwork for that side of things really interests me.
Do the actual stunts?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
so maybe fingers crossed. That'd be cool.
To come back on it when you become a stunt woman, though.
If ever.
Get it.
And then I would like to continue in the assistant directing department. I really quite enjoy doing the paperwork on that side of things as well as kind of, you know, cat herding people around. I like doing that because I'm bossy, so it works. Besides that, maybe produce, maybe direct one day, who knows? Kind of wherever the wind takes me is where I'm going to go, I think.
Any other tea you want to spill about some fun, you can exclude names. Any other tea you want to include about a show or maybe some things that you saw where people would be surprised that it happened in this industry?
Oh, I have to think about that one for a minute. I don't have any specific tea to spill, I don't think. I will say that things are a lot different than you would think. Like we cheat a lot of things and the way that we do things would be a lot different than most people would think. Like for example, for like a food commercial, they'll use shaving cream instead of whipped cream or motor oil instead of actual maple syrup because it looks better. And we do that in all aspects of things, in all accounts of film. Like everything we do, we have a cheat for. And it's
isn't there like a fake ice that doesn't make ice sounds?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. There are so many different things and we are able to fake like literally everything. Like there are fake weapons. I had a weapon glued to my face on a show once that was just like rubber, but it looks real. Like, and it's amazing the things that we can come up with.
Wow, you just made me question every single movie I've seen, so.
You should. There are everything we do, it's amazing. Is able to be faked or redone or pulled out of our asses on the spot.
Wow, I love it. And that's the most important thing, is you have to be quick to change, adapt. And if you like consistency, this is not the place for you.
Definitely not. If you're a workaholic though, you may enjoy it.
That's true. But you know, that hustle culture will get you. Ray, it has been so amazing. Now, before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to share? And as well as, do you want to drop your handle if people want to contact you?
Yeah, I mean, if people want to reach out to me, my Instagram is Ray_Austin. Feel free to reach out about union information, how to get into the industry. I'm always willing to help. Besides that, I can't, when people ask me if I can think of anything to share, it all goes out of my brain.
But I actually do the same thing, but yet I still ask the question just to make sure. Well, we'll make sure to have you back when you're a stepwoman. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, sounds
all
great.
All the things that you'll do, it's fantastic. Ray, thank you so much for being a guest on The Tea with B. You have been amazing.
Thanks, B, for having me. I've enjoyed it.